Good morning, children. Today we are going to do appreciation of this poem, Triantiwontigongolope. Okay, now who's the poet of this poem? He's Clarence Michael James Stanislaus Dennis. Okay, now the poem here, I'll just give you a summary of what the poem is. Okay, the poet here is talking about a very funny insect which normally we'd not see. Okay, and it is not actually like a spider, but at the same time, it's not like a fly also. Okay, but it is something like a beetle and also a little like a bee, but it doesn't look like the woolly grub. Okay, uh, and of course the poet says that the name of this insect is very difficult. Okay, but he sure that we will learn it very soon, and he names this insect as Triantiwontigongolope. Okay, and this insect lives on weeds and leaves, and it has a very funny face, but it is actually has a very hearty appetite. Okay, but it has got a very disgraceful manners. Okay, now when you see it for the first time, you get very scared, but the next time when you actually try to see it, you'll not find that the insect is there. Okay, and unless of course you call it softly, it will just feel very unhappy. Okay, it will stay away from you, and because it feels very unhappy if you do not call it softly. Okay, now, and if you tickle it, it trembles, or even if you tread upon its toes, or if you tickle it, it trembles, but at the same time it is not a early riser. Okay, and if you sneer at it or scold it, it will just run away. Okay, scuttle off in shame. And at the same time, now it if you call it by its name, it loves to be called by its name, and it purrs proudly if you call it by its name, and it loves to eat sandwiches. Okay, so if you offer it sandwiches or wax and soap, it loves to have it. Okay, now, but finally, the poet says that we have of course not seen the insect. Okay, and he also says that he too hasn't seen the insect, and he doesn't know where it lives. Okay, um now the poet says there are chances that there is such an insect if the trees and the grass were purple and the sky were bottle green. Of course, we all know that trees and the grass cannot be purple, or even the sky cannot be bottle green. Finally, he says that he has played a big joke on us, and he hopes that we forgive him. We forgive the poet. Okay, children? So that's the summary of your poem, Triantiwontigongolope. Okay? So now let's come to appreciation of this poem. The poem Triantiwontigongolope is written by the poet C.J. Dennis. The poet here talks about a very odd, unusual, and an imaginary insect, which is not quite a spider and it's not quite a fly. It is something like a beetle and a little like a bee. So it resembles the beetle and even a bee, but it doesn't look like a spider or a fly. Okay, now the rhyme scheme. Okay, the rhyme scheme in this poem is AABBCC. Okay, and here the poet has used various figures of speech like simile, repetition, inversion, etc. Okay, you are familiar with these figures of speech, children. For example, here's an example for you. But it purrs and purrs quite proudly if you call it by its name. Okay, so look at the word purr. Now here the word purr is repeated. We call this figure of speech as repetition. Now, after giving his readers so much description about the insect, the poet confesses that he hasn't seen the insect either. Okay, so now through the poem, the poet has described the insect, but finally he confesses that he actually hasn't seen the insect either. He says the entire poem was a joke of his and asks forgiveness from the readers. So this is just an imaginary insect, and the poet says that the entire poem was a big joke of his, and he expects that we forgive him. That is, he asks forgiveness from the readers. Okay, so children, that was appreciation of this poem. Okay, now here in this poem, here I'll give you some lines here. Okay, you'll have to explain these lines with reference to the context. Okay, the first one, but of course you have not seen it, and I truthfully confess. Okay, so but I of course you have not seen it, and I truthfully confess. So what have you not seen? So here the poet is talking about the insect, is it not? So what have you not seen? Okay, so your answer, children, is we have not seen the insect triantiwontigongolope. So who is that you here? You actually refers to the readers. Okay, why have you not seen it? Okay, now we have not seen the insect as it does not exist. Okay, so remember the last in the last stanza, the poet actually tells us that we haven't seen the insect because it is an imaginary one. Okay, so the insect doesn't exist. What does the poet confess? Okay, so the poet confesses that he made up the creature as a joke. So finally, in the last line, you remember, the poet confesses to his readers that he has made up the creature. Okay, so he made up the creature as a joke. Okay, the second one, for there isn't such an insect, though there really might have been. Okay, so here the poet is talking about the insect. Okay, he says there is no such insect as such, and he expects that they really might have been. Okay, so uh, look at the first question, which insect is being referred to here? Okay, so the insect which is referred to here is triantiwontigongolope. Second question, when do you think it might have been? Okay, so is it possible for us to have such an insect? So it might have been, the poet says. So when do you think it might have been? So creature like the triantiwontigongolope might exist if the trees and grass were purple and the sky was bottle green. Okay, so when do you think it might have been? Okay, here, so the poet is talking about the insect. He says that such an insect or such a creature like the triantiwontigongolope might exist if the trees and grass were purple and the sky was bottle green. Okay. Third one, where do you think this insect exists? Okay. So children, what is the answer? Does this insect really exist? No. So where does it exist then, children? This insect exists in the poet's imagination. Okay, children? Now, here we have details related to triantiwontigongolope. Okay, so here we have three questions. Okay, so let us see what the first one is, what it looks like. Okay, so what does this insect look like? Okay, so this insect does not look like a spider or a fly. Okay, so this insect doesn't look like a spider or a fly. It looks a bit like a beetle and a little like a bee. So it looks like a beetle as well as a bee. Okay, just a little bit. It doesn't look like a woolly grub that climbs upon a tree. At the same time, it doesn't look like this woolly grub, okay, that caterpillar that climbs upon a tree. Now, what drives it away? Okay, so what is it that drives this insect away? Okay, what is it, children? Sneering and scolding drives it away. It doesn't like to be sneered or scorned. or scolded. Okay, so sneering and scolding drives it away. The third one, what it likes. Okay, so what is this insect like? It likes to be called by its name. Remember, children, it likes to be called softly. Okay, if we call it softly by its name, it loves it. It likes to be called by its name. And it also likes sandwiches or wax and soap. So what it likes, children? It likes to be called by its name and likes sandwiches or wax and soap. Okay, so here, children, we finish this reference to context, okay, as well as details related to this insect triantiwontigongolope. Okay, children, thank you.